welcome back everybody to our C++ text RPG series. Today we're going to be looking at player stats. So what are stats? Stats are attributes or characteristics that allow us to determine how fast a player can attack, the attack power, and the player's ability to parry or evade attacks. These stats are also used in determining how to calculate things such as damage, the actual attack power, and how fast a player levels up, and the way that the player can level up. So what kind of stats are we going to be using in our game? Let's start with the physical stats. The player's strength plays a major role in the power of the player's attack and the way that damage is handled. Dexterity. This helps in determining the player's attack's accuracy and the ability to parry attacks. Speed. This also aids the player in attacks and parrying attacks. Stamina or endurance. Stamina can help keep the player from becoming fatigued during battle and negatively affecting the player's speed. For mental stats, in our game we're only going to have one, and that's going to be intelligence. The intelligence of a player will help us determine how fast the player can level up, and for magic users, the power of the magic attacks. In some RPG games, it's normally used to control the amount of skill points that can be earned and how fast a player can level up. We'll be doing something like that, but not entirely. What are some calculated stats that we have? There are some stats in the game that must be calculated. Attack is one of them. The way that we're going to calculate the player's attack in our game is as follows. We will be using strength, equipped weapon, dexterity, and intelligence. The player's strength will be directly used in the attack power of the player. The attack power of the player is also based on the equipped weapon. The power of the equipped weapon will also be directly used. We will not be using multiple weapons like left hand or right hand in our game, even though it is possible you could add that in later if you like. Dexterity and intelligence will both be used on a value of 5. For every 5 dexterity or 5 intelligence points, we'll be adding 1 to the total attack points. Here's the attack calculation. As you can see, our attack is equal to the full value of our strength plus the full value of the weapon plus dexterity divided by 5 plus intelligence divided by 5. Since we're going to be using an integer value, anything that's a decimal point will just be thrown away. Defense is also a calculated stat. To calculate defense, we'll be using the following. All of the equipped armor defense power be added directly to total defense and play a big part in the player's full defense power. Dexterity, intelligence, strength, speed will also be used. We'll be doing the same calculation in where for every 5 points, we'll be adding 1 defense point. So in the defense calculation, the player's equipment truly does matter. Here is the calculation. So as you can see, our defense is equal to our armor power, and what I mean by that is all of your headgear, chest, and footwear added together, plus the calculation of your intelligence, plus dexterity, plus strength and speed, all divided by 5. So if your dexterity is 10, you'll get 2. If this is 5, you'll get 1. Alright, so let's get started on creating the stats class. Alright everybody, let's get started making the stats class. So first thing we're going to do is create a new header, call it stats. What are we going to need? We're going to need an unordered map, string, we'll start with that, class, stats, we're going to need an enumerator for equipment slots. Headgear, chest or body, footwear, and accessory. No slot, just in case. Okay, so we're going to have some private. And those are going to be our maps. That's going to be our stat list. So the list of different stats that we have. We're going to have another one. and it's going to be the same thing, but it's going to be stat modifier. And then we're going to have a last one, and it's going to be equip slot list. And that's going to have our equip slots. And now I'm going to have public, our constructor. We're going to have another constructor. Whoops. Intelligence, speed, and dexterity, and stamina. We're also going to have our destructor. That can just be default. And we're going to have some getters and setters here. So inline, const, std, unordered map. We're going to want that to be a reference. Get stat list. So we don't want people to be able to change these directly from this. We want to just, this is just for listing what they are. Stat modifier, list. We'll just call that get modifier. And the last one is the equip slots. Get equip slot lists. I'm not sure if we're going to need this one, but most likely. Alright, so const int. So now we're going to make another one where we can just get the stat itself by its key or by its name. We'll just call it key. We'll do get modifier as well. And we'll also do get equipment value. And that is at a specific slot. Then we're also going to have a set modifier, const, wstring reference at the key and int value. We're going to have a set equipment value, equipment or yeah, equipment value. And then we're also going to have a set stat. We'll call that stat actually. Key will do. Key and value or KV. And then we'll have the last one that's going to be update stats. This will be called whenever we want to update any changes to our equipment. So if we change any stat, we're going to want to update our stats because it'll change other values as well. So let's get making these. All right, let's go define these. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to quickly just stats. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So just like before, if we don't give it a stat, it'll call this one, and this one will have all our initial values. Okay, so M stat list. So stat list is a map of W strings and ints. So let's make a map. So we're going to want to initialize this with attack. Initialize attack as 0. It won't be 0 because remember, attack is calculated. It's a calculated stat. Same with defense. Now we'll put magic in here. I don't know if it's going to be necessary. Strength, speed, intelligence, dexterity. Oh, stamina. That'll do it. Stamina. Change this to stamina as well. Alright. And now we need stat modifier list. So it's pretty close to the same thing. We're going to need all of these. Except they'll just start at 0 because we don't have anything that's modifying them right now. That usually gets set up with equipment. And then our equipment slots. Equipment slot list. I think we had 5 slots, right? Weapon, headgear, chest and body, footwear, and our accessory. Accessory. Let's go back there. You guys probably saw that already. We're like, no! Alright, back to stats. So that's good for the initializing. And right here, we're actually going to update stats. So this will initialize the attack and defense. So when the stats is first created, it'll be created with a player, and the player will be read in. So their stats won't all start at 0. They'll probably start at random values that we have decided for that particular player, what this player should start with. For strength, like if it's a warrior, have a higher strength, lower intelligence, somewhat fast, you know what I mean? So we'll have different values that come in. So we're gonna wanna update our attack and defense right away. So in get stat, it's pretty straightforward. We're just gonna go if m stat list dot find key is equal to the end. not minus minus. Then we're going to have JRPG error. That should do. Oh, we're doing W string here, so that won't work for us. So we can just include IO stream. Just do this for a minute. And then we're going to want to return just the mstat list at that key. And we can do the same thing for the stat modifier. So we get modifier stat modifier list. It's not a valid stat modifier. And we can do a similar thing here. Let's copy this. Let's change our error. Let's change this to slot. Oh yeah, that's got to be our equipment list. There is a downfall to copy and paste, guys. You shouldn't make it a habit, but we're going to do it. All right. Except there is no return. It's just same with equipment value. We're just setting the values for these. And the stat. Now here's the fun. So the first thing we're gonna want to update is the attack power. So m stat list attack is equal to so it's equipment slot list at equip slots weapon, because if you remember from the diagram, the weapon is directly used, and then we have a calculation of the strength, dexterity, and intelligence. So we'll do that now. We're also going to want to have the stat modifier at that same stat as well used in the calculation. We'll just copy this. Oh wait, hold on. Oh wait, no, strength is directly used. Sorry. We can copy this. This one will be divided by 5. Because we're going to make that intelligence. And we're going to make this intelligence. And then dexterity. Alright, so that's for the attack. So if you see, we have attack is equal to the power of your weapon plus your strength and strength modifier plus the calculation of these divided by 5. Now let's update the defense. Update the defense. So we can basically just copy this. Change this to defense. So this is headgear. Plus chest. Plus footwear. And the last one. Actually, we just do this. Add speed. So what this is doing here is it's all of our, so equipment slot at this value, what its value, at this key, what the value is. We're adding these up, plus the calculation for the strengths, intelligence, speed, and dexterity. All right, and now that's the stats class. We're gonna stop this video here. Next video, we'll add these to the equipment and to the player.